Now, I've seen a lot of coverage of this reflecting pool debacle, and I think it was mostly meant to be a distraction that Donald Trump was using to get people to pay attention to anything but how badly he was conducting the war with Iran. An unpopular war no one wanted, that he lied and said would only last 30 days, that lasted way longer than 30 days, that he lied and said was for reasons that he was doing it that weren't the reasons he was doing it. Then, of course, in the end, we fail, we surrender, essentially, begging for the war to come to an end, and now we're paying to repair all the damage that we did. A completely pointless war from the guy who promised no new wars. So what does Donald Trump do to distract the American people? Anything he can do to distract the media and the American people, including spending a shitload of money to redecorate and remodel the Capitol reflecting pool, because that's what we care about right now. Obviously, it was a distraction, but because it was a distraction, I didn't plan to talk about it until, for reasons completely out of Trump's control, admittedly, the reflecting pool became a debacle that has been quite the battle for Trump. From vandalism to a sewage stew of algae to a ton of money spent for nothing gained. It is hilarious. It has been a pretty funny development. There's a reason why people have been following this situation, so I thought we'd go ahead and take a look at what the current status is of the Capitol reflecting pool.
As America celebrates its 250th anniversary coming up next week, Donald Trump's Great American State Fair on the National Mall here in D.C. looks to be, well, getting off to quite a rocky start. The Washington Post described it as a bumpy beginning, which included power outages that led to ride delays and melted ice cream. A writer for the Washingtonian had more critical words, calling the fair bleaker than expected and sparsely attended and shockingly boring. Sick burn there.
Yeah, Trump held a big fair as well. That's what she's talking about right now. And, I mean, it's Washington. It's an extremely left-leaning city. There weren't going to be a lot of people taking their families to go to the Trump-themed park events in Washington. You know, it's like, you're not he was not polling for his demographic there. Exactly.
Now, that was all from yesterday's opening. As for today, well, one of our producers headed down there this afternoon to check things out. And as for crowd size during that time, I'll let you judge for yourself.
No, there's no way. What do you mean? That's gotta be fake. No. The FIFA fan zone? Is this like a FIFA event? Like, what? There's no way. Like, I'm being trolled. There's like 1,000 people right behind the camera here, surely.
There's a photo right there. But like any fair worth its salt,
okay, there's some people.
And it was working. Trump's fair also has this, a miniature version of his planned vanity arch. That certainly is.
Oh my god. If it actually ends up looking like that, it will be the ugliest iteration of one of these arches I have ever seen. Like, the point of these things is for them to have detail in them. I surely hope that if we're gonna have one of these, it's not gonna look just like a scaled up version of that, because that is ugly.
Something. Now, this fair isn't the only thing experiencing some hiccups on the National Mall. There are also the ongoing issues with his costly renovations to the reflecting pool. Tonight, the New York Times has new reporting that the reflecting pool turning green probably didn't have anything to do with vandals. What do you think? It likely had something to...
I mean, it's a shallow pool of water exposed to near constant sunlight. Like, algae just happens when that is the case. Like, as somebody who's been a lifeguard, I'll tell you, I sometimes all it takes is a foot and a half of water and nonstop sun beating down all day, and boy, will that turn into an algae soup in not that long of a time. It grows exponentially. So like the first week or so, it's just a little bit of pond scum, but then if you let that go undealt with, within like a week, it turns into a soup of pond scum.
To do with Trump's UFC birthday party. The Times, citing two people briefed on the situation, reports that the Trump administration ordered a contractor to temporarily remove devices called nanobubblers, which were keeping algae at bay. And according to the Times, the Park Service did not provide a reason for the removal, but it coincided exactly with a June 12th promotional event which drew crowds to the reflecting pool. And by the time the purification systems were reinstalled 36 hours later, enormous algae blooms were starting to spread unchecked, turning the water green. Joining me now is David Farenthold. He is a New York Times journalist who contributed to that reporting. Okay, so the saga of the reflecting pool, I'm sure you feel this way, feels like it could finally be coming to an end. Do you think we now have the definitive answer of what caused the algae, and is it finally being dealt with? What do we know?
I mean, what caused the algae was the fact that it's... I don't think you can avoid... I don't think you can avoid algae growing in there unless you specifically line the bottom with like something really bright. That'll help, I think. Or either something really dark or really bright. I forget what it is, but color of the bottom can play a part, but like you literally just need people out there cleaning it weekly. Like a team of people have to be out there being paid to clean it weekly. One of many federal jobs, I'm sure, was being done and paid before Doge went in and started mass firing federal employees. Like, oh, the people who clean up the reflecting pool, let's fire them. We don't need to pay them a salary. And now we're dealing with an algae outbreak in the reflecting pool. Apparently, it's maybe more serious than that. There's rumors going around that the algae bloom is a full-blown biofilm now, meaning it's not just algae, but could also be toxic cyanobacterium. I mean, could it literally turn into, like, red tide bacterial algae that would, like... I mean, there's nothing alive in there to die and then stink, like with the ocean, but could it basically turn into that, like a soup of red tide algae?
Well, yeah, I think we have a couple of causes that seem pretty plausible. One is that they filled the pool with city tap water, which is actually full of stuff called phosphates that are supposed to design to stop corrosion in pipes, but also feed algae. And also that they turned off the filters for 36 hours to have a better backdrop for this UFC fight. So, yeah, I think that's a pretty good explanation of why we saw that bright green algae bloom that really mucked up the pool for several days. I still want to know more about why the bottom of the pool is coming off, though. Remember, we spent millions and millions of dollars to put blue.
Well, apparently it was vandals, right? Like someone took a box cutter and just cut all the way up the length of it. My theory as to how they got away with it is that they went there in the middle of the night with a mask and snorkel and like got under the water, nothing but the snorkel sticking out in the middle of the night, and just like swam along the bottom in like the very shallow water, just barely submerged, and just ran the box cutter along the bottom. That's how I like to imagine they did it.
Blue coating on the bottom of the pool, and after a few days, it started peeling off and floating to the top. They're going to have to drain the pool again to fix that. And I'd really like to know what went wrong that allowed that to happen so quickly.
Yeah, I mean, there have been, you're talking about the peeling paint liner, of course. There have been lots of stories. I mean, President Trump blamed it on vandalism.
Yeah, wouldn't the phosphates and, like, nitrates in there just be water fertilizer, basically? Good point, Kirknay.
What do we know? I mean, what are the big questions you have about it? What do we really know about it at this point?
Well, the thing to start with here, Jen, is that this was a no-bid contract, right? The government gave away a contract to this company that had never really done any project like this before, never done any government contract before, without doing the things that make government contracting work usually, looking around for other bids, seeing if they could find people who could do the job.
This is the kind of thing that should make you immediately roll your eyes every time some chud tells you, but Trump was a good businessman. He's such a good businessman.
Job better or more cheaply. They just chose these people and handed them this money in this contract. And along the way, there were warning signs. People within the Interior Department warned that their paint job had bubbles, it had holes, it had blisters. There were concerns that it wouldn't really work. And so once they filled the pool with water and it starts peeling up, yeah, then there's millions of dollars spent on this job that didn't even last a month.
The reflecting pool is hardly Trump's only focus, shall I call it, in terms of renovation projects. Are there any other aspects of Trump's commemoration of America's 250th anniversary raising red flags for you, where you really have additional questions you're digging into now that we should all watch out for in the coming weeks?
Well, so many of these things are no-bid contracts, right? The filtration system on the reflecting pool is a no-bid contract to a company owned by a guy who lives near Mar-a-Lago. There's no-bid contracts to renovate the fountains in front of the White House in Lafayette Park. That went to the same company that's building Trump's ballroom. There's no-bid contracts to put gold leaf on some statues near the Lincoln Memorial. So much of this stuff was done outside the regular procedures. And what you see often, and this is a pattern.
I wonder if, like, with the Kennedy Memorial Center or whatever it was called, I wonder if it'll be determined that any of these changes that Trump is just unilaterally making to the grounds of the Capitol, I wonder if they'll be deemed unconstitutional or just illegal changes, essentially, and they'll be forced to be undone, which will be a waste of further taxpayer dollars just to undo it anyway, which sucks. But do you think we're gonna see more stuff like that throughout the Capitol? Like the changes Trump made, the changes Trump is making being undone before or after his current term?
I think that repeats across the Trump presidency. The things Trump wants done the most are often the things that are done the least well, because everybody falls all over themselves to be a yes man and doesn't ask the questions that it would allow the job to actually be done right.
David Fahrenthold, I'm not sure you thought, with all of the incredible award-winning investigative reporting you've done, that your beat would currently be reflecting pools, national park projects. But I'm just going to reiterate, having worked a lot in government, how important this is, because no bid contracts means they're not going through the proper process. Money could be used in not a way that makes sense. It's over budget. So thank you for your reporting. Thank you for being here with me. We'll be right back.
Good point. Yeah, how'd they rebuild the East Wing at this point? Damn, bad timing for me to take a big-ass hit. Thank you, Supreme Court. Rare W. Anyway, though, in all seriousness, Donald Trump is wasting our money. He's trying to distract us. Like, we should not focus too much on stories like this. We need to focus on the war with Iran, how Trump fucked it up, how Trump did it at all, despite promising not to do any war. We should be focusing on the amount of money and the amount of support that we're giving to Israel, despite the fact that its leader is wanted with like a dozen warrants for war crimes and crimes against humanity by the ICC, that like they want to take Netanyahu to The Hague and Trump is protecting him. Trump is hiding the Epstein files, and the fact he shows up in the Epstein files like 34,000 times or something. Do not fall for the distraction. But that doesn't mean you can't have a little fun making fun of stuff like this. Just make sure you keep your eye on the ball in the long run, okay, folks? Promise me. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like and a comment down below. Only about 10% of my viewers leave a like or a thumbs up on my videos, so if you increase that ratio with your support, it really does help a ton. Make sure to subscribe and ring the bell icon and turn on all notifications so you actually see my new videos in the future. And of course, I do hope to see you around more in the future as well. I hope you see the next one, and I hope you have a good one.